No. The Dark Tower or something.
Good
not
day, Internet.
Good day,
Hi, Internet.
Roger's
Hi,
trying
Internet.
to remember the name
Yes.
of a board game.
So there was a board game in the 80s called Dark Tower, and in the middle of the board game was this electronic kind of gizmo computer. Computer's more of a calculator.
This isn't the Stephen King Dark Tower.
No. This was just a board
relation.
game, and you could have different pieces. But it had a couple of elements that you consider Stephen King-ish. But if they could make something that's like... They did a Kickstarter, and they remade it using more modern technology and a new, better board. But like, if you can get that with like an LLM constantly just, giving you different role plays and stuff, that'd be pretty sweet. But then you have to play with people.
It's always the problem with board games. There's so few solo board games.
Are there any?
There's some solo card games.
Solo card, yeah.
That are technically tabletop. Besides solitaire.
Solitaire.
Obviously.
You can't Catan.
Or like Mahjong, like you do that. Like anything on a computer, I suppose, can be a solitary
Can you
game.
Catan with yourself?
Like, you'd be trading yourself. That'd be really boring.
Oh, yeah. No, that's not really.
I trade you 4 goats for one.
Yeah, if you're on a computer, you can play against the computer.
Yeah.
But you're not really playing alone at that point.
I like the
Maybe
idea of
that's what
board games.
OpenAI can partner with Mattel on, is tabletop games that you can play on your own.
Yes.
Because you got an LLM that you can play against.
What's that term in Japan? Hikikomori? The people were like shut-ins. I would totally do that.
I don't know. The last time I played Mahjong, I would actually have to learn how to play it again. It's been that long. But boy, did I play a lot of Mahjong when we got our first, family
set?
computer.
Oh.
Solitaire and Mahjong
really?
all day. Yeah.
Mahjong on the computer. I don't think I ever really played Mahjong on the computer much.
Oh, man.
I know I had it. I can picture the icon in my mind.
Yeah, it was a huge game for a while in the mid to late 90s.
That's
I think it's
yeah,
still a
that
huge
tracks. Yeah.
But I mean, for an American
mid-90s.
audience.
Yeah.
Maybe I misjudged and there's someone out.
Yeah, I honestly would. I don't know. If I could look it up and figure out how to play again easily enough. Yeah, I did that with Sudoku.
You'd probably pick it back up faster because you would start to come back.
Yeah.
It's like
no,
riding a bicycle.
we whole
Although
family.
You know what?
We played a lot
I tried
of
that
Mahjong.
recently. That didn't work out so well.
What?
Trying to rewrite a bicycle. The last time I've been on a bike was in my mid 30s.
Really?
So it's just different. You don't use those muscles, so it's a little you gotta get off.
But you don't have to relearn it.
No,
right?
I didn't have to relearn it, but it was definitely not a graceful entry back into it.
I'm with you on that. So one of my neighbors, she moved recently, and she had this bike, and she was like, "Do you want my bike? I'm just gonna put it out on the street. I don't have room for it at my new apartment." And I was like, "Sure, I'll take the bike." And I just keep looking at it in my garage. I'm like, do I ride the
know.
bike?
I used to ride Maxine everywhere in Austin. That's the name of my bike.
Oh.
And she's sitting in the garage. I haven't ridden her in years, sadly.
And it's funny because my neighborhood, weirdly enough, is, even though I'm
Pretty flat street.
What's that?
It's pretty flat, it's pretty easy.
It's pretty
to
flat, yeah. It's it's not mountainous, and there are a lot of bike lanes around me. A lot of bikers and scooter folks use the bike lanes too.
2-minute warning, 2 minutes.
But
Russell.
I'm just scared of riding bikes in urban areas. It's like if I'm on a trail,
Whoa.
I'm fine.
Breaking
but
news.
if there's a stoplight and I gotta hop off the bike and and I'm little, so bikes are always big for me anyway. So
James Glazer says Board Game Geeks has People's Choice Top 200 solo games.
there's quite a few of them then.
Say top 200.
That's way more than I would have thought.
Solo. Oh, right here, 1 to 250. It's People's Choice. Let me see. Mage Knight.
Wait,
Spirit
but
Man.
these look like they might not
They're
be
card games.
table? Oh, they are. They're all card games. Okay.
Final Girl. That looks like a horror one. Now that might be intriguing. I don't know. I want to see the new Megan movie for some reason. 2.0.
I didn't see the first one.
It was all right.
No. People liked it.
I thought it was fun. It wasn't as impactful as I thought it would be, but. Like,
Do you want to see Naked Gun 2?
I thought it was going to be silly at first, but strangely, I do want to see it.
It looks silly.
But you know what I mean?
The trailer
Like,
came out today. Looks real silly.
well, the trailer came. This is the second trailer, right? Because
Before it was a
30
teaser.
seconds.
Now they got a full trailer. In fact, almost everything from the teaser is in this trailer.
Yes. But it definitely reminds me. Liam Neeson wants to do comedy.
It reminds you of that because you knew it before.
I haven't seen any of those movies. The Liam Neeson.
Naked Gun, Police Squad, none of them really.
Well, I mean, I've seen Naked Gun. No, Liam Neeson.
Oh, you mean the serious movies? Gotcha.
Yeah, the ones where he's on the plane and he's trying to save his daughter or whatever. Okay.
Snakes on a plane.
Good day, internets. This is DTNS Live for Tuesday, June 17th, 2025. From Studio Animal House, I'm Sarah Lane.
From Studio 7 in Los Angeles, I'm Tom Merritt.
I'm the producer, Roger Chang.
You are. DTNS Live is made possible by you listening or watching right now. Thank you, Jeff Wilkes. Thank you, Pele Glendale. Thank you, Paul Reese. And thank you, James Corbett.
Indeed. Thank you to everybody who supports our show, and welcome, one and all, to DTNS Live, the show where we discuss the tech news to help us all understand it a little bit better. Roger Chang, how you doing?
I'm doing okay.
Yeah? Keep on keeping on?
Yeah, it's not too hot. Yeah, I say that now and watch it bump up over to 95. But the temperature is still relatively mild for.
We're 91 over here.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm
but I'm below sea
85,
level.
so says my Apple Watch.
I know people love it when we talk about the weather at the top of the show.
They love it. It's one of the best things about DTNS Live. But well, yeah. As my corner store friend likes to say, así. Más o menos.
Oh, más o menos, I get. Yes.
Yeah.
Do you
Or
get
so?
Do you get podcast ads in Spanish?
Do
Sarah?
I?
Yeah.
No.
I get them in Spanish all the time, including on Have Such a Good Day.
Really?
And it's kind of a tone change, when it's like you and Heather saying like, and I'll be Heather forever, goodbye. And then Ralph's Mas Fina Groceries. It's like, oh, okay. Because it's usually a Ralph's ad.
I don't know what that's about. I know that we got an email recently from somebody who lives in Quebec.
Yeah.
And says,
We talked
I'm
about
an
that on
English
briefing.
speaker, but I just
Yeah.
happen to live there, and they must just be, running the IP and think that I want to hear French ads.
Or that's what I assume is happening there. They're like, oh, Los Angeles, a lot of Spanish speakers. Let's put some Spanish speaking ads in there. Yeah.
But it's
I get that with YouTube
yeah,
a lot.
I guess so. Yeah,
Do you?
I guess that's
I
got to
get
be
a
what it
lot of
is.
Spanish language because
I
I
mean,
don't pay for
there are a lot of
YouTube.
Spanish speakers in my neighborhood, that's for sure. So, I mean, if they're,
I
going
also
off my
have-
IP address, that's what's happening.
I have the Spanish keyboard installed on my phone from when I was using it with language learning app. And occasionally it's on and I don't realize it. And all my autocorrects are all wrong. And then I'm like, oh, I'm in the Spanish keyboard. Let me switch that. So
I
maybe
have the exact same
maybe it's
problem with my
using that
French
telemetry.
keyboards.
It's like, oh, do you get French ads?
I don't.
Then we would know it was the keyboard.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not a lot
I
of French
get-
ads targeted
I get Korean
at LA,
ads.
I'm guessing.
I get Korean and Spanish.
You get Korean ads. That's interesting. I have
But
a Korean
they're-
keyboard installed
but
too,
it's
and I
but
never
it's
get Korean
it's
ads.
a Korean voiceover, so it's like the same ad they would play in English, but the voiceover's Korean. Like when
Yeah,
but that's YouTube, so maybe YouTube has a
Well,
different.
if anyone's like, I know what's going on here, or I get the same thing and I don't know what's going on, we would like your feedback. Feedback at
Yes.
dailytechnewsshow.com.
Sorry about the ice cream truck.
Oh.
Can you run out and get me something real quick?
Oh, I didn't even hear it. I was like,
now-
what happened to the ice cream truck?
No. It just rolled by
just-
my. I have my
it just-
windows
No,
open.
I could
and
hear
just
it.
rolled-
I actually didn't really clock that it was there until you said it. I'm like, oh yeah, that totally is an ice cream truck. You're right.
We have so many ice cream trucks, especially around this time of year in my neighborhood, that even if I heard it, I tune them out at this point because
I don't
otherwise
even know
I'll
what
go
to
crazy.
get. I go to an ice cream truck and I'm just overwhelmed by choice.
They need to give me something that I can't get in a supermarket. because then it
They
feels
do,
special.
usually.
Well,
Well,
what
so-
it is a truck outside your house.
Well, no, because the ones that usually I hit up my kids hit up are like they serve all the same like Nestle, like the,
Oh,
what are they
really?
called? But they have a
you don't
few
get
other
rocket
ones on
pops
Maltese.
and fudgesicles and stuff.
Yeah, but those you can buy in a supermarket. Like
Not the, usually the ones I see on the ice cream
oh,
truck
the,
are like
the branded ones. Yeah,
they're
I mean,
specific.
the thing is like
Yeah.
it's kids love this stuff. They love to run out to the ice cream truck. It's playing a song. You know, there's lots of colors. It's very exciting.
Kids
You got
of all
to go
ages.
out there real quick
go
before it
run
goes
toward
away.
the street. The one thing
Yeah.
I tell my kids not to do.
Well, that's true. Yeah.
So while
I guess it
Roger runs
depends.
out and gets us all ice cream, what are we gonna do?
Eat it.
Well, we have to wait for him to bring it back, though.
Well, do it carefully, Roger, because I want that ice cream. I want that rocket pop. Rocket pop's very cool.
Rocket Pops, exactly.
Forgot about them.
Root beer float pops are the best.
Creamsicles. I was always a fan of creamsicles. But listen, if you are listening live and say, I don't like ice cream and I don't want to talk about it anymore, don't worry. You can still be a part of the show by naming this episode. Head on over to dtns.showbot.tv. You will see titles start to propagate as we go on through the
that's
stories.
kinda fun.
And you can submit your own and vote on others. We will check back in on the votes at the end of the show. All right, let's kick it off with a few stories that caught our eye.
So this is a story of Threads adding a feature that most other social networks don't have. Threads is adding a section to the following tab that will show posts from people you follow in the Fediverse. In other words, places that use ActivityPub like Mastodon or Flipboard. It is a simple reverse chronological feed. And if you haven't done this already, you'll need to opt in to share your posts to the Fediverse in order to see it once it becomes available to you.
Yeah, good for you, Threads. You're finally first.
Honestly, like this could be the biggest thing to popularizing Mastodon yet.
I got an email. I don't know if everybody else got this email, but it was like a, hey, Threads member, it's the Threads challenge. You know, like
No.
there are a few things that you can post about, like a podcast that helped you think differently, or it was sort of like and if you're, one of our lucky winners, you'll get some Meta glasses. And I was like,
Oh, wait a minute. I did get that and I didn't read it.
yeah,
I saw the thing about
I looked
glasses.
at it and I was like, I actually would like the glasses, but like,
I just saw win glasses and deleted it.
that's what it was. Anyway, so Threads is clearly looking for people to get creative and post more, and this is just another way for them to do it. Intel is looking at further job reductions, planning to lay off between 15 and 20% of its factory workers, a move described by manufacturing vice president Naga Chakandesakaran as difficult but necessary to address financial challenges. Intel is not the only company having financial challenges, but we've talked about some of its challenges earlier this year. Most of the cuts are expected to occur next month, July.
Yeah, this is the leaked memo. I think the Oregonian is the one that got a hold of it. I guess it's not shocking, huh?
Yeah, there's going to be more of that.
Well, on the lighter side of news, the first two of Netflix's Netflix House centers will open in Dallas and outside of Philadelphia by the end of this year. The 100,000 square foot centers will feature a retail element, a restaurant called Netflix Bites, and, quote, immersive story-driven experiences based on Netflix's high-profile shows, including Red Light, Green Light Race from the Squid Game, and Stranger Things Demogorgon Chase. So if you want to be chased by someone in a...
I was going to say, the two examples used are both races, so yeah.
Yes.
Lot of
They
running.
involve quickly moving with your feet. And the third location will come to Las Vegas in 2027. So
Now,
Yeah.
so correct me if I'm wrong. When we talked about this a couple of months ago, and we were all sort of like, does this work? We were talking about the Las Vegas location.
No, you're confusing. Yes, I understand where you're confusing. There was the
Okay.
Netflix Bites pop-up in Las Vegas that still exists.
Got it.
And we talked about that. And then we also talked about Netflix House, which at the time they weren't talking about whether it would have a restaurant for sure or not, but would have immersive
I
experiences.
see.
And we were like, is it going to include the Netflix bites? But the Netflix bites doesn't have the immersive stuff, so I guess it's bigger than that. And now we got the confirmation that, yeah, it's going to have the restaurant. It's going to have the shop, of course. How would it not have a shop? But yeah, it's mostly about the immersive experiences.
So
Got it.
It'll be exciting, I hope. And anyone who comes across one at the end of the year, let us know what it's like.
Yeah, suburban Philly and suburban Dallas. Go get them.
Yeah. If you're in either of those places,
Go get chased by
report
something.
back. Yes, just run around and eat some bites, I guess. All right, those were the stories that caught our eye today, but there is more. Oxford's Reuters Institute for the Study of Journalism published its annual digital news report on Monday. It's been doing this for years, surveying around 100,000 people in 48 countries. Serbia, notably, a new entry. So yes, Serbians also part of the study. The findings, and there are a lot of them. This is a really dense report. I really recommend you read the full one from Neiman Lab, which we will have in our show notes. But some of the takeaways that I found were interesting. First time, social media, the top way Americans get news over TV and direct websites and or apps. So social media specifically, rather than, turning on your TV and watching, a cable network or going to a specific website or using a specific app that is, publisher based. Some of the most popular personalities over-index with young men, right-leaning audiences also in there, those that have low levels of trust in mainstream media outlets. None of that is surprising to me. That is just a trend that you're going to get in a lot of places, the U.S. being one of them. But yeah, social media being at the top of this, it's kind of significant.
Yeah, it's really significant to me that they separated news websites and apps from the social media and video platforms. So YouTube, TikTok is in there with Facebook, et cetera. But the Wall Street Journal, CBS News, those are in a separate category. And people are getting their news more often on the social media platforms than they are, at least in the US, than they are on the other platforms. And I think that's concerning in multiple ways, but concerning in that there is a lot of variance in quality of news on the social media platforms. And so you run into things that you can't as easily understand whether you can rely on it or not. I don't like to play into the narrative of like everybody's dumb and going to get fooled if they read news on social media, because I don't think that's true. But it does increase your cognitive load because you have to sort through it and be like, okay, wait, who's saying this? Why are they saying it? Yeah, I want to believe it, so maybe I'm going to lower my guard and not be as critical of it. And I think that makes it harder for people to get as well informed.
It's weird personally. I haven't watched broadcast TV and cable television in a long time. So if I were to watch video news, like television news, it would come off YouTube, say like a CNN channel or the PBS NewsHour, YouTube channel or like maybe the BBC or whatever. But I still prefer reading just because I find it to be a quicker process for me to zero in on the cogent information and then make it, crunch down everything else. But I can totally see just, social media. If that's where you've been and that's where your friends are, you might just be soaking it up because it's convenient, right? If you're like the way people used to pass news around the water cooler or during lunchtime, you were with your coworkers and you would just basically, oh, did you hear about the such and such or the new changes to whatever that might impact you? You learn about this way, and then you might dig in a little more. You might pick up a newspaper.
It's more dynamic, right? Yeah. Like you feel like you're in a conversation, that you're in something that's happening now, and in a way that passively watching a TV show or reading a newspaper doesn't feel. So it's more exciting for people.
And I think you hit it. It's the conversational aspect. One reason why things like Reddit do so well is they'll have like a news story, but then you might have some thoughts on it. So someone might say, but what does this mean? Does this mean A, B, or C? And then someone else was going, no, it really just means C. A and B really don't come into this. So I think people might feel like they're a little
You get
better.
context.
Yeah, exactly.
Some
You
of the
get-
context is unhelpful, but there is a
Right.
lot of context.
Yeah.
Like, you know, like, because oftentimes when people read these stories, it might be from a distant location, but they have a hard time relating it back to their exact circumstance.
And there really is a strain of belief among all kinds of people. I'm not picking on the people you think I'm picking on when I say this. There is a strain of belief that like, oh, I'm getting the real story because a person is saying it on X, not a news outlet, right? There is a bias against the news outlets. Like, well, that's the corporate media, right? From multiple directions. And so if a person is saying it, then suddenly it's like, well, they probably are telling me a thing that other folks don't want me to know, or they got the inside scoop, or they have the inside story, and now I'm getting the real truth. Whether that's true or not, most of the time it's probably not even true. But there's that feeling that I think makes people want to get their news that way.
What was interesting about the survey is that social media being the main source of news is not on the rise everywhere. Relatively flat in Japan and Denmark, but has increased in other countries such as the UK and France, which Neiman Lab points to, well, maybe, you know, there's been a lot of political stuff going on in countries, and that tends to make people, you know, look to other news sources. But to go back to your point, Roger, about just preferring to read, and I'm with you on that. You know, when a video pops up, you know, I'm like, no, I just want to skim the article. You know, exit out. Preferences for text over video news vary significantly by country, says the study. Part of the distinction seems to be tied to a country's wealth, not the only factor, but probably a big one. Norway, Germany, the UK, more pro-reading. India, Mexico, Philippines, more pro-watching.
You know why, right? Or at least what I think, and this is my Reddit self coming through, is in those societies, a majority of those people work long hours, so it's difficult to pull yourself away from work to read something, but you can keep a TV on, you can keep something on, listening while you're doing your job, so you're kind of being able to do double tasking, I guess, at that point.
Or just on a phone. You've got a mid-range smartphone that you can stream stuff on, and it's harder to read on a phone.
But you can
don't
listen
have the leisure.
and kind of watch.
Also, we've got different literacy rates in those countries. I know India has a lower literacy rate than most European countries. It's rising, but it is a lower literacy rate. And also, those countries, Philippines is an exception, but Mexico and India probably don't have as much of a penetration. Well, no, I take that back. That's wrong. I'm not even going to say it because I think I'm wrong about all three of them.
Well, I mean,
I was going to say English speaking, but India has a lot of English speakers. Philippines has a lot of English speakers, and I think Mexico probably has a lot of them.
Well,
too,
it's also, especially in countries like India where you're multilingual, you have different languages, and you need to pick one that is predominantly in your area and then use
But yeah, I think it's the leisure time and literacy rate and device would probably explain that too.
Some other takeaways from this, folks 18 through 24, men and women, much more likely than older people. Older people than 24, my gosh, you old 25-year-olds, to prefer watching or listening to the news. In the U.S. between 2021 and 2025, the share of population consuming news video, at least weekly, increased from 55% to 72%, most on social platforms. Traditional media having the hardest time on TikTok, says Neiman Lab. And we could go on. There's a lot going on here. We also have a similar report from Nielsen reporting that in May, streaming officially surpassed cable and broadcast TV combined for the first time. We are all streaming, people. That's what we're doing.
Yes.
This has been coming for a while.
We all already know this.
But it's a milestone to mark. Like, this is the time. And it'll probably slip back in the fall because that's when the football season begins in the U.S. And so people tend to watch broadcast TV in greater numbers then. But this may be the last time it does that in the autumn.
Yeah. Well, and, sports more and more are going to streaming networks.
Exactly.
Well.
Yep.
All right, Tom. You want to talk about sovereign AI. Explain yourself.
Yes. So Nvidia's stock has had a little bit of a spike, And most of the analysts like CNBC and folks are saying it's because they're out there promoting sovereign AI. Nvidia's CEO Jensen Huang has been telling every country that he can get to listen to him that they need to develop sovereign AI. The idea is that you have a language, you have knowledge, you have history, you have culture in your region that is different, and every nation should develop its own AI trained on your language and your culture. And NVIDIA is here to sell you the hardware to do that. There was a really interesting Bloomberg article that came out today as well about a company in Mongolia called Egun or Egun AI, Egune, which has developed a foundation model that is as capable in Mongolian as ChatGPT. In fact, it's more capable in Mongolian than ChatGPT is in Mongolian. And it's unusual because this is not a company that's in the United States, China, or Europe. They just launched an 80 billion parameter model, and it has achieved 96% accuracy in automatic speech recognition. But here's why I'm bringing it up in relation to the sovereign AI story. They trained it for 8 weeks on 96 GPUs. Now, 96 GPUs is more than I have, but when you're training models, you usually need a lot more than that. So if this thing were speaking English, we'd be talking about it the way we were talking about DeepSeek earlier this year. So I think there's something, I think it's a service to the audience to be like, hey, sovereign AI, if you hear that, that's a very buzzy thing right now. But also pointing out to this startup in Mongolia that's showing like, you don't have to spend a lot of money to make this work.
I think this is a long time coming because oftentimes when it comes to technology, you have larger players that have like deep capital in order to invest as well as exploit whatever discoveries that come out, and it sets the tone. But when it comes to things that are more cultural, especially language, which is very regional depending on where you're in the world, having something that kind of understands or at least trained on information, models trained on the way people interact, in their language, I think gives you a better idea. They often say learning a different language often changes the way you think, right? There are certain things that I do that I think in Mandarin actually has a different, conceptually a different vision in my head than if I said the same thing in English.
Oh, yeah. I mean, think of all the like figures of speech in English that, that somebody would be like, what's that mean? And you're like, oh, this is what it means. And every language has that. Lots of them. And you don't just learn that because you're, doing some Duolingo.
And I think in having a more diverse and more, a representative, set of models that, that showcase or at least are advantaging those people that they're set to help, I think is great. Because then you're not trying to, stick the same shoe on everyone's foot, despite their foot size.
Yeah, I think one of the takeaways here is the models that we have are trained on the internet, and the internet is largely in English. And if it's not in English, it's probably in Spanish, or maybe Mandarin, or maybe French, and then it goes down from there. I haven't looked that up, but I'm guessing that's pretty close. And so if you're not in one of those languages, there's just the language part of this that we've been talking about. But also, I don't know, if you're Swiss, you've got 3 languages that people speak, but you've also got a Swiss culture that is different than German. It's different than Italian. It's different than French culture that you're going to have different assumptions
Swiss
from.
German, because I have family that lives in Zurich, Swiss German is not a written language. They write in German, like they call it High German, but it's different. Sounds
and
different.
Even beyond the
There's
language,
all sorts of different stuff.
They have different foods and traditions and things too that an LLM would be able to be trained on and be like, oh, this is for that market. Same goes for Korea. Not that North Korea is going to be involved in this, but things are very different in North Korea than South Korea. Probably a better example is Mandarin, where you've got various Mandarin-speaking areas in Asia, even within China, that are different and regional.
Yeah. I mean, the Mandarin spoken.
Don't even get me started on India. It's like they have like 5,000 languages.
I mean, it's. It's interesting. I mean, you don't even have to go that far. Like in the U.S., you can go to a different region, and not just the language won't be like too far off, but the phrases, but also the meaning behind them have different connotations than to someone who is not from there, right? The vernacular.
Yeah. I mean,
So,
using the U.S. as an example is like taking an Android conversation and then talking about Apple, though, right? Like,
well, yeah, it's.
I mean, we've got some regional stuff, but I mean,
I would
go
say
to
it's-
the UK. Great example. It's like that is a relatively small area if you're talking about the entire globe, and you've got a lot of regional dialects that are very different than the others.
yeah, and so I think this idea of sovereign AI has got something to it, and I think it's pretty amazing that this company in Mongolia has leapfrogged into the top ranks with their model. The way they did it was foreign educated Mongolians, 11 different experts. The chief executive officer, Badral Sanlig, was trained in Germany. And the cool part about this story is that he is now like, I want to help other countries do this for them. And so he's already talking to neighboring Kazakhstan about creating their own sovereign AI. And it's not because he's knows Kazakh culture necessarily, but he's like, I know how we did it in Mongolia. I can give you tips on how to do it for Kazakhstan.
Yeah. And there's so much crossover too, depending on where you live and what country is next to you. It's like, I don't know. I mean, in Los Angeles, some people say Spanglish. It's like, you speak English and Spanish, right? It's not like its own.
What's interesting, because you have Spanglish, but you also have Chicano English, which isn't the same thing, but people often mistake them for each other. And they're different ways of speaking, but also different phrases that people have learned over time, because culturally that's just what everyone in the area used to. It's it's less now because of the rapid spread of mass media, across great distances, but you still see it once in a while.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what do you want to hear us talk about on the show? One way to let us know is our subreddit. You can submit stories and vote on them at reddit.com/r/dailytechnewsshow.
Batteries. How do they work? No, I'm just kidding. They're the key to making renewable energy
No one
accessible around the clock. Magnets, I still don't know. But batteries, I kind of do. Cost and complexity of existing batteries, though, can sort of make people and people in cities think twice about investing in them. A project in Finland might suggest otherwise. Roger, you've been following this one.
Yeah, so this Finnish town, Pornainen, hope don't scare me on the pronunciation, has turned on the world's largest sand battery. The thermal battery consists of 2,000 metric tons of pulverized rock inside a 49-foot wide silo. You can see a picture of it right there. It's capable of storing 100 megawatt hours of thermal energy from solar and wind sources, enabling the town's residents to eliminate oil from their district heating network, potentially cutting emissions by nearly 70%. And the idea behind this is, as you have a wind turbine, you have a solar generation capacity that is used to heat water that is then passed through the sand to heat the sand. And the idea is, when you're in an area, a time of season where you need to draw energy, you can pull heat energy from this sand pile to heat homes in the town. And to me, this is
It looks like a water tower.
It is. I mean, it's
Basically,
a sand tower.
Yeah, right.
But
it's a water tower filled with sand, therefore a sand.
Yeah, but to me, this is very emblematic of kind of the idea behind a lot of these renewable batteries, is that you don't need a very advanced high-tech solution to a lot of these. A lot of these can be done with existing infrastructure, existing materials. You just kind of have to think out of the box. I think the biggest impediment is really just space. One of the ones that used to be kicked around back in the mid to late 2000s was basically taking water and then pumping it into a reservoir using energy from a wind turbine or solar panels. And that water would essentially give you a dam full of potential energy that you could then release and then turn a turbine when you needed it to generate electricity. Now, it's not a one-to-one conversion. You do lose energy in the process, but the idea is that you can save energy during a period of time where it's most plentiful, like in the middle of the summer during the day, and then releasing it when you don't have that access. You don't have solar power, but you still have access to this captive energy. The other idea I think they had for Las Vegas a few years ago was to build these giant stone blocks on essentially a ramp, and a motor powered by renewable energy would pull this giant rock sled up, and then as you needed it, they would descend and the rock would fall back due to gravity, and as it would pull, it would turn the pulley would turn a turbine to generate electricity in the process, so you could kind of recapture that energy and then expend it when you need it.
But what are you using to move the rocks again?
You're using renewable energy, so you have wind turbines.
You could have solar panels powering a motor that moves the rocks.
Got
Then
it.
At night, when the solar power is gone, you can release the rocks, and then you get the kinetic energy.
Wow.
from
that's
gravity
kind
as
of
it
fun.
pulls it back.
Yeah.
Whatever
So-
happened with that? It's like our modern Stonehenge.
Well, I mean, the idea is that you don't need to wait for a lot of these technologies to come to be practical. Depending on where you live, you might have everything you need. Really, you just need the space and a will to kind of implement it. And I think
It's going to depend on the town and the cost, right? The cost of the rock thing may have been what prevented people in Las Vegas from doing it. There are other solutions for this Finnish town that could do this. Some of them might even do it more effectively, but they would have been more expensive. This is not particularly costly, right, Roger?
No, it's relative. The sand that they got came from a factory that makes fireplaces, and so they already had the material. They could just put it in there. I think it's a super clever idea, and it's like just making use of what you already have around you. I mean, granted, they're not powering a factory.
It's heating, not power.
Yeah, it's exactly. So
but you're in
heating.
Finland. That's going to be useful.
Well, the idea is that you can store energy. You can store renewable energy in a way that you can then pull back at a later time when you need it.
Yeah, I suppose you could turn this back into electricity, although that becomes less efficient than just using it for the heating. But yeah, and no, would this be the best solution for Los Angeles? Probably not, because we're too hot most of the time. But there might be other things that we could do similar to that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, it's just like, there've always been sort of, everyone thinks about renewables, but they think of like a very high tech solution to something, and sometimes it's not as
Just a bunch of
high tech isn't
sand
bad.
and a water tower.
No, it's not that.
But it's not
bad,
the
but
only thing.
It's not the only thing,
Yeah.
and it's not necessarily something you need to wait for to mature in order to implement.
Yeah, go pound sand.
Yeah.
It'll heat your town.
Yeah.
That's fun. All right. Speaking of fun, Tom had some fun earlier with 1-800-CHAT-GPT. Tom, what is going on?
Yeah, Gadget ran a story about this. I guess OpenAI tweeted about it on X as well. The way it was reported on Gadget is slightly misleading. You cannot call 1-800-CHAT-GPT on your phone and ask for an image, but the WhatsApp account for ChatGPT is associated with the phone number that is 1-800-CHAT-GPT, aka 1-800-242-8478. You have to have a phone number right now on WhatsApp, so that's the phone number that they have. So you have to be able to use WhatsApp. You can't just pick up your phone. You have to associate the phone number with a WhatsApp, and then you get the WhatsApp account. And the news is you could already do chat with ChatGPT for free over WhatsApp, but now you can do image requests. So I tried it out. And if we want to put it up on the screen, you connect to it just like you would any other phone number. It gives you the warning that you're using a business, which is using a service from Meta to manage the chat. And then you just say the way you would in the ChatGPT interface, like, hey, what you doing? I asked it to make an image that shows the hosts of Daily Tech News Show busily preparing for the show. And then it asks some clarifying things. Do you want me to show Tom, Sarah, and Roger? Should it be realistic or a cartoon? I was like, yes, Tom, Sarah, and Roger, thanks. Make it realistic, like a photo in a studio setting.
I also will say, just because I'm looking at the chat right now, You're one of those polite ChatGPT users.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
like, yes, thank you. Great.
You know,
Like,
I'm just hedging my
because
bets
you're
in
like,
case.
yeah, I just want, I want this to
Someday
go well.
that log might show. I'm just saying, here is the photo it made. Don't look
Which-
too close at my eyes, and you'll probably be like, "Oh, yeah, that's definitely Tom." Sarah,
Listen, it looks like me, but it looks like me on a
Sort of?
very bad day.
yeah, it's
Like
not,
I look like I've been crying.
You look a little elongated too. Like I'm not sure.
Well,
like, it
yeah, like
stretched
I'm
you.
like
Yeah.
maybe I'm near death. However, I look at it and I'm like, I see it. I mean, I don't like
I mean,
but I see
it's not
it.
you, but it's like, oh, it could be related to you. It could be your cousin.
There's some cheekbones there that are they're
Sure.
realistic.
That's
then
not
you get to
Roger.
Roger.
That is not Roger at all. That's like Xi Jinping. I'm not even sure who that is, but that is.
yeah,
That is not
that,
Roger.
that doesn't look like me at all. I
Not
find
at
it
all.
interesting. Yeah, not
No.
even close.
I mean, I'd never
it
be
gave
like,
me a
oh,
punch.
maybe it's even
I-
Roger's
that's the
brother.
most
I'm like,
offensive
nah,
part.
no.
It gave me a gut.
It did. It's really offensive. But I don't know. I thought we could do a little live prompting on air.
Ooh.
If you want to send it another image, we could try it out.
I mean,
maybe we
you
could revise.
You could tell
it.
ChatGPT that I'm not married, so I wouldn't be wearing a ring on that finger, and also I'm not right-handed, so I wouldn't be writing with my right hand, and also I don't like pens.
Oh, you
don't write.
That's right.
Thank you. Got that off my
Really
chest.
doesn't use pens.
I don't
Also,
hate pens.
that
I just don't want
looks
them.
Nothing
I don't want pens in my
like
life
Roger.
anymore.
Can we try again? How's that? Sarah's not married or right-handed, and she really doesn't use pens. Also, that looks nothing like Roger. Can we try again?
It's gonna make me a horse.
Let's try it. Yeah.
All right. I don't know how fast. Honestly, I let this thing just cook, and then I went back later and it was done. So I'm not sure how fast it will be. Got it. I'll adjust. Sarah Lane, left-handed, no wedding ring, not using a pen. Roger Chang, make sure he looks accurate. Asian descent, wears glasses, short hair. Keep the realistic studio setting with the team preparing for the show. Anything else you'd like tweaked before I regenerate it?
No, do it.
No. Go for it. Yay.
Yay. I like it's like, make sure Roger looks accurate. He's of Asian descent. He wears glasses and he has short
does.
hair. It's like, well, you already did that once. It just wasn't the right guy.
Oh, you've hit the free plan limit. You can create more images when the limit
man.
resets in 21. You guess you could. Okay, this is good to know. You can only do one image
A day.
per 24 hours.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
We'll never know.
Man. I didn't realize that was the. I knew there was a limit, but I didn't realize it was one image. Like I can't even revise. Wow. Well, that's kind of disappointing. Oh well.
No, it was fun.
I don't
anyway.
know who this is for.
I don't either. I feel like this is ChatGPT just being like, if anyone is just fully, a computer phobe or otherwise, just.
But you have to use WhatsApp, and you have to know how to put a
No.
phone number into WhatsApp. Like it can't be for the computer phobes.
No,
'Cause
I
you
guess
gotta-
not. Yeah, because
I mean,
it's
not
like
the total computer phobe anyway.
I'm thinking of like the people I know in my life who are like, I don't know, I don't do the ChatGPT thing. I don't know how to use that. I'm like, it's
Yeah.
like a simple app, but
Feels like way easier to go to a browser than to go. But I guess if you live and breathe in WhatsApp, that's nice. You can just like pop over there
I guess
and use it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you truly spent most of your time within WhatsApp and this was helpful to you, then sure.
Are they just trying to tweak Meta? Because there's a Meta AI tab in WhatsApp as well.
Yeah. Well, that's possible.
So they're like, man, we're there too. Wow.
yeah. Which one do you want more?
Yeah. I don't know. If
And a lot of
anybody's
WhatsApp people are like, I don't know, sovereign AI. That sounds
if
better.
anybody has got the like, no, I am the test case for this. I absolutely wanted this in WhatsApp, and here's why. Then sure, yeah. Well, you can link your account and create more images. What if let me try to do that. This version of ChatGPT has been sunset. Update to the latest.
Sunset? I've never gotten that. I've gotten there's a ChatGPT update. In fact, right now in my Mac OS app, click to install. They do it like every single day. Then you click and then it I don't know what's new.
It's doing it launched the app. Okay. That's why. I'm gonna try to see if I can link my account to the WhatsApp. I'm not sure if this is gonna work.
It's
Live
riveting.
TV.
It's riveting, though. It is.
Confirm account linking. Okay. There we go. Successfully linked. Hey, Tom Merritt, your account is now linked successfully. Okay. Great. Can we regenerate
there he goes again.
now?
So enthusiastic. Thank you. Great.
You're the best.
You're so fun. Best friend ever.
I think I just mimic it because that's how it talks too. I'm working on creating
I do
that
the
image,
same.
but it might take a
I've
bit.
actually been, and weirdly enough, I think just because we've talked so much about this, and I've read so many stories of people being like, you don't want to anthropomorphize the stuff too much. It's not a human.
Yeah.
It's like you give a prompt. You don't have to talk to it like you're talking to your friendly neighbor. Even though that makes me feel uncomfortable, I'm like, that's probably the right call. It's you are a tool. I'm using you as a tool. I'm not talking to you as a friend. Although, again, and we talked about this earlier this week.
I didn't say that, future AI overlord.
Yeah.
It wasn't
Future
me.
AI overlord is like, you called me a tool?
You excuse me?
But then, there is that whole, section of folks who, are using it for companionship and therapy and all sorts of stuff. So I'm not saying one thing is right other than wrong, but I do find it interesting because I find myself doing this all the time where I'll be like, thank you. And it's like,
Yeah. I don't think it's a problem.
I don't think
I think it's a problem to anthropomorphize it too much, but if that isn't making you anthropomorphize it too much, then I don't think it's a problem to just practice being polite. 'Cause it's good practice.
I was talking to a real person who was doing some back-end Squarespace stuff. I had a billion problem with one of my Squarespace domains. And, I was like, I could send an email, but let me just get on live chat. I want to get this over with. And, it will take you through the kind of phone tree part of it. But then I got somebody, and I don't think it was a bot. I think it was a person. And there was some just weird discrepancy between a couple of my different emails. But that person was like extremely like, hi, Sarah. Good morning. My name's Tony. How can I help you? Lots of, exclamation points. And I was like, hi.
Hi, Tony. Oh my gosh.
Hi, Tony. I can't
So
wait for you
exciting.
to help. Yeah, like it was like I was just like matching Tony's energy, whoever they are.
And apologies
And-
to Tony who's listening right now. We're not talking about you. Different Tony.
No, I mean, unless you work for Squarespace and you talked to me this morning, and you would know because I gave you a lot of personal information. But
Yeah.
but no, we figured out the problem, and it was like a very like we are hyped kind
Yeah.
of kind of
So
mood.
cool. Which I'd rather
which-
have the negative. So
Of
that's good.
course, yeah. It's like it doesn't have nobody has to like pump me up when I'm contacting customer support, but it was a positive experience.
We got the revised image, made big changes. Sarah has the laptop now. Otherwise, it looks
right.
exactly the same.
Tom just looks. He has a keyboard and he just looks into the mic.
Why did I
Yeah.
get fatter?
I mean, that
don't
looks just
feel-
like this guy. Like it's not any different,
It's
except
yeah.
maybe he gained a little weight in between.
I mean, okay. So I will say
That
I'm still
still
not
doesn't-
thrilled with me because nobody likes photos of themselves. But this is Tom and I are closer. Tom actually is also the same.
I think it actually fixed some of the stuff around my eyes. So
But yeah, that just isn't Roger. I mean,
Yeah.
in no universe, even if I wasn't wearing my contacts, would I be
Why
like, "Is
did
that
it-
you, Roger?"
I said that still doesn't look like Roger, and it's like, okay, so glasses with a more rectangular shape. I'm like,
"Yeah, I think we need to do more than that."
yeah.
It's like I got a double chin.
We can just go ahead and do the,
in one prompt.
emails, and if it comes back with a third attempt, we'll look at it afterwards.
All right.
Obviously,
speaking,
I'm like a vampire. I can't be reflected in AI.
Maybe that's it. AI just can't imagine you. You're too,
no,
yeah.
you're truly too unique.
too complex.
All right. Speaking of mailbags, let's check them out. If you want to keep your devices charged, where you're not going to be near any outlets for a while, and we've all been there during travel, Chris Christensen has a tip for you.
This is Chris Christensen from Amateur Traveler with another Tech in Travel Minute. Sometimes that small charger that you carry in your pocket isn't enough. I was just in the Grand Canyon for 7 days doing a rafting trip, which I will cover in my next episode, and needed to keep my devices charged, and there's no electrical power for 7 days. So I brought with me a Halucky solar charger. It's 2,700 milliamp hours. I don't know for sure how much the solar charger made a difference, but that amount of charging meant that when I got off the river after a week, I still had plenty of power to recharge my iPhone or my Meta Ray-Ban glasses. So if you're looking for something for a longer period of time, the Halucky solar charger worked for me. This is Chris Christensen from Amateur Traveler.
Ooh, that's nice. I might have to take a look at that. 43
7 days with no power.
right now.
Man, that's
Yeah.
bold. I mean, I know you have solutions, but it's like, I would be on pins and needles. Like, please.
Fast
please let this
charging.
work. Yeah.
Can charge an iPhone 11 to 65% in 30 minutes. Why an iPhone 11?
Yeah, that works.
Anyway, Mark sent us an email about discussing our use of Notebook LM and brainstorming other potential applications. He writes, "We recently purchased a home in Lewes, Delaware, the first city in the first state, which comes with extensive historical preservation regulations. To manage this, I uploaded the 120 plus page historical guidelines, our blueprints, and our selections for windows, siding, light fixtures, bathroom fixtures, etc. into Notebook LM. Now I can ask things like, what are the dimensions of bedroom 2? How many windows does it have? What type? What type of tile is being used in the bathroom? Do our plans comply with historical guidelines? It's become an incredibly useful reference tool that saves me from digging through multiple PDFs every time I need a detail."
This is a good one, Mark. And how fun to be, historically revising a historical site. I don't know, however you say it, but yeah, these are the sorts of questions. Unless you're right there with a measuring tape, it's like, yeah, what is bedroom number 2? Is it 10 by 12 or 10 by 14? I forget. All that stuff.
My skepticism on Notebook LM is mostly about the voice stuff. The actual text stuff, I know Rob uses a lot, and this is a perfect use for that. This is a great example, Mark. We got a third picture. I think they fixed it. They gave all of us laptops and put a mixer in the table. Otherwise, everybody looks exactly the same.
My face looks. I look like a totally different person.
No, I look worse. I look worse than before.
I lost glasses.
They want me to be dead. Okay?
I look like that guy who sits.
Yeah, Tom no longer is wearing glasses, and he seems very confused about that.
I am so confused. But I have a Heil mic now. Well, actually, no. That might be a Rode. I'm not sure.
Well, I don't know. I mean, here we are. At least we've got soundproofing on the walls.
And I got shorter.
And a mixer box, to plug in 15 different things.
All this tells me is there's
we
not
got
enough
this out.
Asian males with glasses and short hair on the internet.
Or it can't find a picture of you, and it's like, oh.
Which is weird, because if you do a search for me...
there's lots of pictures of you on the internet. So.
Yeah. Well, we'll keep
I'm
at
a
it.
vampire. I have no reflection.
Keep at it. Yeah. No, you're special. That's the takeaway from this. You're a very special person. Can't be replicated. If you are like, no, here's how you ask, guys, you're not doing it right, or you have any thoughts on anything that we talk about on this show or any of our other shows, do send it our way, because we want your feedback. Send it to feedback@dailytechnewsshow.com.
All right, let's check in on those titles everybody was submitting throughout this entire show. And our top vote getter is from Ryan in Minneapolis. We shall call this episode Steve. We said you can name it whatever you want. So
That's true.
Ryan would like to name it Steve. We also have Netflix exits through the gift shop. Yes, always. Stealth Dave, good one. Get us ice cream, Roger. It's another
That sounds like my kid.
Yeah.
GPT.
Right now. I know it's going to take you 5 hours to drive here, but
You know what?
if you want to do it, you can make it work.
If they made it PHAT, then it could totally be like a 90s lyric generator.
Yes. Ice Stream for ice cream. G. James B. ChatGPT ad libs. Ads libs.
Ads LBs.
Oh, ads pounds. I see. Ads LBs.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't get the ad lib. Ads pounds. ChatGPT. It adds pounds. They say ChatGPT adds 30 pounds. ChatGPT can't do a decent Roger from GPEG 84. Sand batteries are hot stuff. I don't know. Sarah, what should we pick?
I think it's clear ChatGPT can't do a decent Roger, but
Oh, very clear.
we went with Larry in Atlanta's ChatGPT adds LBs.
Ads LBs.
And it's funny that you were like ad lib, but what's going on? Is there a typo here? Because I will always I'm not talking about how much people weigh all that often, but every so often, I will say LBs, and I've had more than a couple people be like, "What? I don't get it." And I'm like, like pounds. I'm like, "Oh, why didn't you say pounds?" I'm like, "I don't know."
I tweaked it to pounds for the title so people wouldn't have the confusion.
Oh, I like LBs.
LBs.
But whatever. Yeah. Either way. If you get it, if you know, you know.
If you know, you know. And if you support the show, we appreciate you, is how that saying goes. Big thanks to everybody who supports us on LinkedIn, supports us on YouTube, and who supports us on Twitch. In fact, we have some special thanks today on Twitch. Technomensch gave us bits. Zoe gave us bits. Killbot404 resubscribed to our Twitch channel. Said subscribing makes Tom read your words like this. It's true. It's a good example of that happening right now. Bob Kagan followed us. Thanks everybody for supporting us in all the ways, especially patreon.com/DTNS.
Well, if you're an Apple fan, such as me, I'm Sarah Lane, and Eileen Rivera, we host Apple Vision Show each week to talk about whether Apple's vision matches what we, the users, are looking for. And, as consumers, because it is very much a consumer lifestyle focused show, sometimes the answer is not really. It's been interesting since WWDC. There's a lot to talk about. It is a very fun show, and we'd love to have you along for the ride. Get subscribed now at applevisionshow.com. Before we get out of here, Tom and Roger, real quick, we talked about games that you play by yourself. And it could be a card game. It could be a board game. It could be something on your phone. Any game. What do you think your favorite is, if you had to choose?
It's probably a video game. Games you play by yourself. But if I cross out video
but like
games,
if you're kind of like in a pinch, like what's your answer?
Solitaire.
When's the last time you played
I'm
Solitaire?
boring. Like on my phone
Like
this
anywhere.
morning.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. So okay.
I mean,
All right.
the
You're a
only
Solitaire
game
player.
I played. This is the thing. I play on my phone. I play Word Tales, where you're supposed to generate words from like 6 or 5 letters, and you got to fill out the entire puzzle.
Yeah.
That's what I do. It's so unexciting, but it,
I also
when
play this whale game. It's like a Bejeweled style game.
like Moby Dick, you harpoon the great whale.
Well, he said Bejeweled style,
Oh, so a bejeweled whale. You
not a
harpoon the
beluga style.
No, it's like you have to 3 of the things in a row, and then
Yeah. It's kind of Tetris.
Yeah.
I don't fly as much as I used to, but I am a big Dots fan. There's Dots and Dots 2, which aren't free games, but it's just a one-time fee. And I will, especially if I'm just like, I don't care about Wi-Fi, or maybe the Wi-Fi is being weird, I will go into a deep meditation session and do Dots. And every so often, like, I'll beat my previous high score, and I feel really good about myself.
You start shouting on the plane, and everyone stares at you.
I mean, I've actually done that before, where someone looks at me and is like, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, "Oh, Dots, yeah."
Dots. I just want dots.
But when it comes to everyday stuff, I am a New York Times puzzle person. Wordle, connections, and strands in that order. You can't go out of the order, or it doesn't work.
Really?
That's what I do every day when Tom's playing solitaire.
I do connections, although I actually have fallen off connections.
Yeah. Connections, I've talked about this before. I'm very hit and miss. I mean, sometimes I'm like, that was so easy. And other days I'm like, I was never going to get that. Ever. You know? I don't
Next
even know
best-
why I spent 30 minutes on it.
The two best plane rides I've ever had. One, I just happened to fall asleep. It was San Francisco to London. I happened to fall asleep and woke up right before we landed, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, that was the best flight!" I slept through the flight. The second best, I was playing Civilization Revolutions on my phone and got so sucked into it. I was like, "Oh my gosh, we're landing already!" I think that one was a shorter flight, but still, totally substantial.
I've done that before on a flight where I'm like, I could have used a few more minutes on
Yeah.
the flight. You know, it's like, when does anyone ever say that?
I
Like,
know, right?
I like
Yeah.
it. I like it here. I just want to stay here a little longer before
Can
I
we
have
just
to get up and
circle a
walk.
little more? I'm almost done.
Yeah. Well, everybody, if you're watching us live, you already know this, but just in case you are not, we do the show live Monday through Friday, 4 p.m. Eastern, 2000 UTC. We have a lot of viewers. We have a lot of audio listeners, and you can find out more at dailytechnewsshow.com/live. Join us, won't you? We are back doing it all again tomorrow with Scott Johnson talking about the role OpenAI will have in designing and powering the toys of the future. We'll see you then.
The DTNS family of podcasts, helping each other understand.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.